welcome to another episode of Piecing It Together, the podcast where we take a look at a new movie and try to figure out what movies inspired it. And today on the show, we are live from Maya Cinemas here in Las Vegas to talk about Captain America: Brave New World, the latest in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And joining me, I've got returning to the show Faith Nault and two newcomers to the show, Jorge Lara and Chris West. And we had a great time over there. Really fun show. We got into a lot of great stuff on this and some lively crowd participation. And the live shows are always so much fun. I also, I got to mention really quick, we've got another live show coming up this Friday. This one came together very last minute. It was a very last minute edition, and so I do want to give an extra shout out to it just to make sure you all know about it. We will be at Downtown Cinemas this Friday for The Monkey, and joining me I've got Nick Woods, Sam Novak, and Jimmy Gonzalez. Pulled this one together literally the afternoon that I was going out to do Captain America. This all kind of came together, so you can check out the website, piecingpod.com, to find out how to get tickets, and I really hope to see you there. Again, it's this Friday, and then I'll be announcing some more live shows for March, but let's get some people out, let's see some movies, and let's talk about them after the movies, like we're about to do here with Captain America. So, yeah, with that said, let's get into this conversation about Captain America: Brave New World. All right, I'm David Rosen, the host of the Piecing It Together podcast. We're about to talk about the movie we just watched, Captain America: Brave New World. But before we get into it, I do want to introduce my guests here. So first up, Faith Nault, returning to the show. Faith, tell everybody a little about you and what you do.
Hi, my name is Faith Nault. I am a freelance filmmaker. I've been a producer for things, a director for things, screenwriting. And I also stream on Twitch, which is a new thing. But
absolutely, yes. Absolutely. Jorge Lara right there. First time on the show. Happy to have him here. How's it going, Jorge?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah. What do you do? Tell people about yourself.
I'm the editor-in-chief of In Magazine. It's a fashion and music magazine here in Las Vegas. And I'm also the art director at Spacecraft Studios downtown.
Absolutely. Really cool place. And always happy to collaborate with Jorge on things, and happy to have him here on the show now. So, yeah, absolutely. And then we get Chris West over there. Introduce yourself.
My name's Chris. I am a filmmaker, and I host a movie podcast similar to this one called Real Sick Podcast with a few friends of mine that are here. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I went to one of their events. Very fun. And you know, I've been podcasting in Las Vegas for 7 years now, doing these live shows for a couple of years. And I haven't seen anybody else doing like live podcast events around movies. So it was really cool to see these guys doing what they're doing, and happy to have Chris on the show now. So yeah, absolutely. So getting into this movie, I really didn't know what to expect getting into it because, as you guys know, I'm not really the biggest superhero guy, but, you know, Marvel has been kind of in a spinning their wheels kind of phase for quite a while now, and obviously we're building up to some much bigger new movies, and this seems almost like a transitional thing, which is what the last 4 or 5 movies have seemed like. We're just transitioning
4 or 5
to
years
transition. Yeah, that's all we can do. But
try.
Yeah, exactly. But I actually liked it. I know it's kind of not getting the best reviews. We're watching this the first night it's out, and I was like, oh no. But I actually kind of liked it, and so I was surprised a little bit. But we'll get into more of that as we're getting through the conversation. I want to just jump right into it. For those who haven't heard Piecing It Together before, what we do is we talk about a movie through the lens of what movies might have inspired it. And I know with the Captain America movies, people are always talking about how they are like these 70s thrillers through, a superhero lens. And I mean, sure, I guess that's kind of what they are. But
sure.
And I saw the director of this specifically cite Le Samurai as an influence. And I'm like, I don't see that at all in this movie, but sure, if you say so. I'll go with the Manchurian Candidate, though, which is in the same vein as the kind of things that people are always saying that these Captain America movies are being inspired by. And, of course, with a whole plot to do, assassinations with unwilling, people who are, getting mind controlled into doing these kinds of things. I think it's a pretty clear influence on this. You can go to the original, I think it was 62, somewhere in the early 60s. And then there's also the 2000s
Denzel
remake.
Washington.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that whole kind of setup, though, works itself into this really well. And I think it's a pretty cool plot device to kind of like set things in motion here. Were any of you thinking about Manchurian Candidate as well in this?
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's a great setup, and gets to some like really interesting, intriguing things that you get all that political stuff that everybody always associates with this particular part of the series, the overall Marvel series.
I think what I liked about what they did with the Manchurian Candidate thing is they did it to multiple people at once.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of just having one sleeper cell, there was a dozen at one time.
Absolutely.
That was a little interesting.
Yeah, throw a little spin on it and make things extra chaotic because we really don't know. It could be anybody.
Yeah.
And almost like a zombie element to it.
That's interesting. Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll come up in more pieces later. We'll see.
Another spin is that the president actually assassinates himself or his character. So.
Yeah, I guess that is actually a good point right there
Yeah.
for sure. Well, let's go on to another one though. Faith, what do you got for your first?
I feel like this might be cheating a little, but I kept getting like X-Men Days of Future Past and X-Men, I think it's Last Stand. Whichever one they're fighting on the water between, I don't even remember, Magneto and...
I think it's Days of Future Past.
Yeah, and then there's also I think Days of Future Past where they're fighting on
First
in
class,
the
that's right.
lawn,
First
in
class.
the south
The Last
lawn.
Stand.
One of those, okay?
Yeah.
But I'm thinking of two of them at the same time. One where they're fighting at the White House.
Yeah.
And I'm also thinking of the one where they're fighting in the water.
Yeah.
I feel like they combined those into one movie, and I'm not mad about it. I think they did it in the reverse order. I think they did water and then Washington, D.C. But I thought it was cool because the thing that's bothered me a little bit was in the trailer, we saw a lot of Red Hulk, right?
Sure.
And then we never see him until but we all knew it was coming, which I
Sure.
think maybe they shouldn't have put it in the trailer.
I've been seeing that so much lately where they show
because-
their cards the whole time.
Yeah, I was like, I know he's gonna. When is it happening? I
Sure.
think we all probably were, and I think in like the X-Men movies, we just are waiting for everybody to kill each other or fight each other. And
Yeah.
in this point, I knew that was gonna happen, but I was more like, when is he gonna do it? Like, when is he gonna be Red Hulk? But yeah, I think they do a good job of the big battle scenes, similar to X-Men does,
Yeah.
and I really think that looked like a big influence.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's just funny, though, as not a superhero guy, that we're like a room full of people all unsure of which X-Men movie had those particular fights. But, they're in there somewhere. But, I think it's a good one to include, though, for sure. Jorge, let's go to one from you.
Yeah, I was thinking Air Force One. Or,
Sure.
And it feels like Harrison Ford is like his third time playing a president.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Yeah. No, and he is so good in it. Like, he is really fun to watch. And, like, that's what we want from him. We want that gravitas. So we want him to, like, just really, really just sell that kind of thing. And he's so good in Air Force One. He's so much fun in that. But,
And he always has, like, the hero villain type of thing where you don't know the gray area.
Yeah, sure. And like Faith was saying, like, we knew from the trailer, like, he's going to become the Hulk, but we also don't know what else is going on with him at any kind of point. So
very psychological.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I think that's definitely. I feel like it has to be a part of this conversation because it's Harrison Ford as the president. So I'm glad you brought it up here. Chris, let's go to one from you.
This was an odd one for me. Tell you the truth, the first movie that came to my mind it's more tonal, is Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Okay, I love it. I love it.
Just how cartoony it was, but it's also like this underlining conspiracy going on. And especially when it came to the leader, he had this whole Christopher Lloyd thing going on from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Sure.
And it just kind of stuck with me throughout the film.
That is so interesting, and I think it's really funny too because, like, as much as I'm saying that, like, I like this movie more than I thought I would, it's funny that with Captain America specific movies, they're always going for these, loftier goals than the average Marvel movie, and yet we're here, saying, like, that's a really great point. It does kind of seem like a cartoonish villain and all this stuff, and that kind of mix of tones is a very strange thing to try to pull off, but But you're right. That villain, I didn't think of that at all, but I love that.
There was even one point where he was wearing the hat, like the same hat and glasses.
Yeah. We needed
like
some more like silhouette shots and stuff like that to like lead
Exactly.
into scenes and things. That would have been fun.
Even the comedy was like very like
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go with one that I don't know if this is the best example, but I was kind of racking my brain trying to think of something else, and I couldn't quite get to it. Obviously, Steve Rogers was the Captain America, but now there's a different Captain America. And I was trying to think of other movies that are a continuation. They're not a reboot. They're not a remake. We're not talking Batmans with different actors playing Batman, but where a different person kind of inhabits this character that we all know. And the closest thing I could think of is The Crow, City of Angels.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it since it came out. I don't remember it being very good.
Deftones are in that movie.
Yes, they are. Yeah. So, I mean, that is technically a different person becoming the Crow, but he's still the Crow. He's still got all the powers, all the same, all the same things that make the Crow the Crow, but
Vincent
he's a different
Perez.
person. What's his
Yeah.
name?
Vincent Perez played
Okay.
the second Crow.
All right. I don't remember at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you were able to back me up on that, though.
I just know that movie for some odd reason.
Yeah. Isn't that directed by Tim Pope?
I think so.
Oh my God, that's crazy. But yeah, so The Crow, City of Angels, that's my next piece here. And like I said, maybe there's a better version of that, but I don't know.
Creed, maybe?
Yeah, and I thought about it, but he's not Rocky. He's just taking up the mantle of like this guy we could all
That
cheer
new
for.
Karate Kid
you know?
movie.
Oh, yeah.
Is that?
maybe
Yeah?
something like that?
Yeah.
It's like a variation.
That could
They
be.
like know the character, but they're moving on.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. He's a
Maybe.
new
Stay
Karate
tuned
Kid.
for that, I'm sure.
Okay. Future puzzle
I just
piece.
scheduled
Yeah.
his next episode. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, they have that theory that every time they change James Bond, it's like actually a different guy, and it's
Oh, the
not
code
the
name.
same. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like a code name.
Yeah.
'Cause I have James Bond written down.
Okay.
There
you
one
go.
of one of the ones.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get to that. Yeah. Let's go to another one from Faith.
Okay. When I saw this trailer, I thought of Pixels because I really love that stupid movie. I literally saw like clips of it today, but when I think of like the president and like random chaos that's going to ensue, for some reason I think of Pixels, and I think it kind of works actually because the dynamics are goofy. They're like they're not underdogs, but like Sam Wilson was saying, he kind of feels like he has to prove himself, and I think in all of Pixels, it's the underdogs kind of showing up and proving that they deserve a seat at the table.
Yeah.
So in like a weird, crazy way, Pixels and Captain America: Brave New World are very similar.
That's so funny. Like that is such a wild movie. I just saw it for the first time last year, and that movie got a really bad rep. When
I
it came
love
out.
it.
Yeah, I thought it was
good.
all
It's
right.
It's just so funny.
It's ridiculous, but you could kind of point to Pixels or point to any just action comedy like that, like anything with Sandler in a semi-action or any any of those kind of comedians. And Pixels is a great version of that, where it's just wacky, balls to the wall, and
Yeah.
insane, and everything's getting thrown at him, and he shouldn't be able to survive, but he just somehow does. And yeah, Sam, they're trying to like his tenacity. That's kind of like the main character trait they're trying to get through with this.
I kept thinking to myself that he says shit a lot. He says shit, and
does say
and
shit
like
a lot.
I love it. I think it's great, but I couldn't help but think of Steve Rogers in the background being like language, and he was always like, "Who cares? Like
Yeah.
I can still do what I'm doing."
Yeah.
And I just think it's a funny thing for people that like have seen all the movies, right? I don't know if I'm the only one crazy enough to be like, oh, language, but that's why I think they're adding that goofiness. That's why I think Pixels is a good pick.
I love it. I love it. Let's go to another one from Jorge.
Imagine the body snatchers.
Okay, yeah.
Because all the soldiers that were turning, I thought there was going to be a scene where they broadcast the sound,
Yeah.
and have like a whole army of of zombies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's another thing with this movie, and we were kind of talking about it before we hit record here, but like this movie was chopped up a lot in production, and like I could imagine that was a direction it went, where there was
Yeah.
even more, like we were talking about, that it's more than one person turning, and they could have been hundreds of people. They could have went in like a totally crazy over the top
Even
direction.
Betty,
Yeah, all of them. Every single one of them. So, but yeah, and that kind of a sci-fi kind of thing. That's another thing about this movie, and I think part of the reason why I like this more than I expected to. I don't like Marvel when it gets galactic. And I mean, I know we have the celestial thing from Eternals in the ocean, but it doesn't go in outer space. We don't get all these alien type characters. I like this grounded stuff better. So I don't know about you guys. That's how I've always felt.
Yeah, it had a lot of restraint, and it was kind of sedated, but in a good way.
Yeah.
It held back, but
Yeah. Well, let's go to one more from Chris.
I'm torn. There was a lot of little scenes that I thought touched on things like there was the riding the rocket, like Doctor Strangelove almost.
Okay.
But another odd one that stuck in my brain was Under the Silver Lake,
Oh, okay. I love that movie.
where it just seemed to get like the conspiracy got a little deeper and weirder, and didn't quite make sense
Yeah.
until a giant monster appeared and they were underground.
Yeah. No, I can't say that I exactly followed every last bit of everything that was going on for sure, but there was some fun action and jokes along the way, so that's cool.
Yeah.
It held our interest even if it didn't quite make sense. But yeah, Under the Silver Lake though, that is a movie that I feel like the whole point of that movie is that you can't make sense of it all.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a good one.
I did really like the choreography in this though.
There were some good fight scenes, right? Yeah. It was definitely entertaining, I thought. I'll go one more. I'm going to go with, I was going to go with the Has Fallen series, but instead I'm going to go with White House Down, which is basically the same thing, but any kind of protecting the president. And Sam really wants to be on the side, like even though he doesn't trust him and even though he doesn't, kind of believe in, his administration and what they're trying to do, he wants to just be a part of all that. And, you think of that movie where, Channing Tatum really wants to, be a part of this whole situation with the president, even though he's kind of being held on the outside of it all. And, it's a fun movie. Another one I haven't seen since the theater, so I don't know.
Which one had Morgan Freeman in it?
That one, I think.
That's the Fallen movies. Is the Morgan
Olympus
Freeman.
Has Fallen?
Oh.
Yeah.
Gerard Butler.
Yep.
Oh.
We should be getting a fourth one any day now. So
Right.
Can't wait. I'm down for all Gerard Butler, but yeah. Faith, let's go to one more from you.
This just came to me, so if it's a little out there, it's whatever. A Few Good Men, because they're trying to get what's his name? What's Jack Nicholson's character's name?
Oh God.
Whatever.
It's Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
Forgive me. When they're trying to get him to kind of incriminate himself on the stand, it takes a lot, and I think Tom Cruise's character you can kind of compare to. I didn't watch Incredible Hulk, so the villain in this movie. What's his name?
The leader?
the leader.
Thaddeus? Or,
No. The
Oh,
green guy.
The guy with the brains.
the leader.
Stearns.
Yeah.
There
Thank
go.
you.
Yeah, he was the leader.
You can kind of compare him to Tom Cruise's character and how he's trying to get Jack Nicholson, and in this case, Thaddeus Ross, to kind of show his true self.
Yeah, you can handle the truth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think you can compare it obviously in different senses. One's way more dramatic than in the courtroom, or you can say that one's more dramatic. But I think they're both at the same. They're trying to go for the same objective,
Yeah.
just in different ways.
You could say Sam did it too when he got him to admit that he was dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the building of tension is really well done in political thrillers if they're done well, and I would agree. Like that scene specifically, I was like, whoa, okay, Thaddeus Ross, go Sam Wilson. I can't wait for more Sam Wilson. I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Yeah.
I think he's got a future in all this. I think he's good. I mean, as long as this does well, but we'll see what happens. But you got one more for us, Jorge?
Yeah, The Fugitive, because it seemed like
Sure.
the president was on the run from his past, and he had the leader kind of going after him and trying to prove himself right.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and that's great. Like, we're in an era now of Harrison Ford. I mean, who doesn't love Harrison Ford? We just want to see him.
Even when he's the bad guy, like we're rooting for him.
Yeah, we're rooting for him to have screen time, if nothing else. We just want to see him do stuff. And, so to harken back to stuff like that is absolutely great.
Yeah.
Chris, you said you were going to bring up Bond.
Oh yeah, James Bond.
Yeah,
Well,
that's his name.
What other Bond?
007.
Ah, that's the guy.
That
That's
guy.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, just the parallel between, like I said, there's theories out there that each time they change the actor, it's a code name, right? It's a different person
Sure.
taking on the mantle of 007. And again, there's the espionage in this. There's the gadgets, all the cool technology, conspiracies, you name it. It's in a James Bond movie. I think the only thing they were missing was like a femme fatale.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. There's no love interest in this at all, huh? That's weird. Well, I guess the one guy kind of gets one in the Israeli super soldier, but
Right.
The Black Widow woman.
Yeah.
That's
yeah. So
She's cute.
yeah. Well, I want to open it up to the floor, see if we have any puzzle pieces out there. I do have some Marvel DVDs given to us by Wax Trax Records here in Las Vegas. So anybody who has any, the first, I think 5, maybe 6, we've got something for you. But I see a hand right over there.
Maybe it's just like too obvious, but like Battleship. from
Battleship.
2012.
Okay.
I mean, just
I had that
big
written
sea
down too.
battles
It
with
was good.
giant mechs and like giant things in the ocean. So
Yeah, I was thinking of Godzilla versus Kong, but that Battleship works too. And
I got that vibe too.
yeah,
Totally.
I was wondering once we got to the ship, like I knew the movie still had like 45 minutes left. I was wondering, are we going to just be on this ship the rest of the movie, just fight after fight on there? But you know, but that whole sequence that was pretty damn good actually. So yeah, but good one there, absolutely. We got a hand over there.
Yeah, I had 2 visual ones. That initial scene when the assassination attempt happened. I saw some Grand Theft Auto vibes.
Okay.
The guy was outside and all the people, like he got all the stars.
Yeah.
It's like, it's what it was
Oh,
like. He got all the stars.
And yeah, the being chased.
Yeah.
It's true.
I love
and,
it.
And then one more was when he's wrangling the missile. It reminded me of riding the worm in Dune.
Oh, some sandworm riding.
It's riding the sandworms.
Okay. I love that sequence when he just, it was just too quick. They should have done more of that. you
Should have
know?
wrote it for a little longer.
Yeah. Because all like the
Hey,
best action
yo.
in the movie was there, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. We need more sandworm riding. So, yeah. So no, those are both really good ones. Anybody else have any for us? Anybody thought of anything? Oh, we got right here.
You know, when he was riding a missile, it made me think of
Not
Transformers
sandworms again.
89 when Spike was riding on his little hoverboard and he fell off and then Hot Rod caught him.
Yeah. I was expecting him to jump the shark.
Yeah. Jumping the shark is Marvel's going to do that eventually, but hopefully not for a little while. But any others out there? Anybody got anything else for us over here? Anybody? No. Well, we got a few, so that's cool. But yeah, I guess we'll get into some closing thoughts. Faith, let's get to you first.
I just want to say I appreciate the stunt team on this because I feel like when you see Ex-Widow and then you see her fight, you very much see Black Widow type moves, and I think that's nice to see the consistency. I really
Sure.
loved anytime you knew that Sam Wilson was gonna flip the shield. I'm always like, oh my god, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I love team. I'm Team Cap, unapologetically, but yeah, I thought that was really cool that they kind of keep it consistent, even though they're different people. You know that they have the same background training
Yeah.
in the world, so I think it's well done that they do. It's subtle, but I think keeping it consistent is important because, as we've talked about before, like the Deadpool Wolverine, it's sometimes hard to follow
Sure.
where we are, what universe we're in, and I think they kind of maintain it in subtle details like that.
Yeah, I actually I hadn't seen, so the only MCU movies I hadn't seen are the first 2 Captain Americas and the first 2 Thors. This week I watched the first 2 Captain Americas for this. I did a little bit of homework, and yeah, you're absolutely right. The fighting style, the action, it's definitely kept consistent, and so I think it's all the better for that. I think if you like these movies, you know, you don't want it to just be Marvel movie number 27 or whatever it is. You want some kind of consistency between any of it. So that's absolutely right. But Jorge, how about you?
I'm glad that they finally answered the MacGuffin in the water because they've been having a lot of movies and like, where's that? What happened to that big? You know.
Yeah.
So it was finally a revelation of where that's gonna lead to.
Yeah, I mean that had seriously become just a big joke by the fact that they hadn't talked about it in like 6 movies now, and so
this big giant thing
Yeah.
in the water. And
Big giant hand sticking out.
But
But
it being
yeah.
adamantium or whatever it's called, that's kind of interesting because I guess it can tie into X-Men.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
very curious to know where it goes because now in this, I don't know what universe number it is, whatever it is.
yeah.
We have no.
Six-
Whatever
616.
number this one is,
Yeah.
now we also have adamantium. So I'm kind of curious where it goes.
I'm kind of thinking that the dam at the end of the where the leader was saying dam is the X-Men, and it's gonna be kind of like X-Men versus Avengers.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know what any of that means, but I'm very excited. Chris, how about you?
I really enjoy the consistency as well, right? The fighting styles and whatnot. I always like a continuation of a universe, right? There's some interesting things that happen in this, like with the adamantium. Fox owned that for 2 decades,
Yeah.
so they were finally able to say that one word in.
Oh, so they never even said the word?
No,
Yeah.
they couldn't say
Wow.
it.
They didn't say mutants, they had to say miracles.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's
Enhance people? Is it?
yeah,
Oh,
it's
wow.
stuff like
Okay.
that. So
Something like that?
Enhance humans.
I think it opens up the world, like you said, even more. And that's what I like about a movie like this. I wouldn't say it's the greatest Captain America movie, but it's pretty good and a little confusing, I thought, at
Yeah.
points, but
Yeah.
decent action. And I really liked Harrison Ford as well, being the Hulk. Who doesn't like to watch the Hulk smash?
That's right. That's right.
He seemed to have
Absolutely.
leap more higher this time, I think.
Yeah, and he got stabbed. Like, you can't stab the Hulk.
Yeah.
The real Hulk.
Yeah.
You could stab this one.
Well,
But,
he's got those wings, so they're made out of something. I don't know.
Vibranium.
Oh, there you go.
It might stick to him a little bit.
I just watched the movie, but I don't know what it's called. Yeah.
But I just like the continuation of the universe and opening up different avenues and stuff. That's really what I'm interested in coming to see a movie like this. And the action, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And like we've been saying, the action was pretty damn good. So the only other thing I wanted to mention, it was kind of a disappointment for me. Early in the movie, when we first are introduced to Harrison Ford, he talks about how his doctors are making him eat these lollipops. And then
Well,
he
they never say it
never
again.
mentions it again. But I was so hoping those lollipops were going to be what keeps the Hulk at bay. And he'd just be like sucking on lollipops the whole time. And that's how he stays
Did he
calm.
even put it in his mouth?
I don't think he ever put it in his mouth or anything.
I like that it was
yeah.
red though, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That's gonna annoy me now.
Yeah, exactly. So that's on the cutting room floor, I'm
Dang
sure.
it.
But, yeah. So
They call that fridge door thoughts, where you're like, wait a minute. No one heard him say Rosebud in Citizen Kane.
right. yeah. We're bringing up Citizen Kane on this episode. I love that.
Ew. Oh, sorry. Did I say that loud?
Faith, where can people find you and everything you're up to?
Strong Faith 1 on Instagram, Faith Nault Films on YouTube, and Captain Faith 149 on Twitch. I also am producing a podcast that should be coming out April, May, so stay tuned to my social media posts for that. But yeah.
Cool. Very cool. How about you, Jorge?
Yeah, you could visit vinmac.com. We have several interviews coming up, and also a World of Jorge Lara on Instagram.
Very cool. Very cool. How about you, Chris?
I got a couple podcasts. The movie one we do is called Real Sick Podcast. Find it at Real Sick Pod. REEL, as in the movie Real.
Mm-hmm.
Real Sick Podcast, or at Real Sick Podcast on Instagram. I do another podcast on art, and that's at Spiral Out Podcast on Instagram. And then you can find me at Chris West 222 on Instagram for all the other cool stuff.
Keeping it real.
Keeping it real.
There you go.
REEL.
Keeping it real. I love
Real
it.
sick.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you can find Piecing It Together wherever you listen to podcasts and on social media at Piecing Pod. And we will be at Downtown Cinemas next week for The Monkey, and then next month for Mickey 17. Very excited for both of those shows. And I've been talking with Maya Cinemas. We are going to be announcing another show here very, very soon. So keep an eye out for that. And other than that, that's our show for today. So everybody, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Come on in. Hi, this is Wax Trax Records here on 2909 South Decatur. We buy all your old 45s, your old albums, any type of music memorabilia. Also, we sell music memorabilia, albums, CDs, and a lot. Come on down to Wax Trax, 2909 South Decatur, or give me a call at 702-362-4300. Thank you very much.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed that conversation about Captain America Brave New World. Thanks again to Faith Nault, Jorge Lara, and Christopher West for joining me on that one. Thanks to everyone who showed up to Maya Cinemas, and thank you to Maya Cinemas for having us out. And thank you to you for listening. If you're enjoying piecing it together, make sure you are subscribed wherever it is that you're listening right now. You could also drop a 5-star rating and review if you would be so kind. That helps make sure that more people check out the show. And also, if you thought of any puzzle pieces for Captain America Brave New World, send them in. I will read them on the next trailers episode. I always love hearing from listeners, hearing what puzzle pieces people thought of. I'm sure there's plenty more stuff that we could have brought up on the episode, so send them in if you got them. And you could also follow us on social media at Piecing Pod and join our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, where we continue the conversation about all the movies we talk about here on the show. Last but not least, we do have a Patreon, the Produced by David Rosen Patreon, where I post bonus and advanced content from piecing it together, including a video version of this episode, and stuff from Awesome Movie Year, stuff from my music career, lots of great content over there. It is patreon.com/bydavidrosen. I appreciate you all just being out there listening, but if you want to support the show, you can do that over on Patreon. So let's close this out with a piece of music like I always do. And I just recently released a new album of instrumental music called Missing Pieces, and I'm going to go with the track off of Missing Pieces for today, although I'm not sure which one I should go with. Let's see here. You know what? I'm going to go with the opening track. It's called Again and Again, and it feels like what we're doing with Marvel movies lately is we're doing these things again and again. So yeah, that's a good one. It's also kind of a action-packed kind of a track. So yeah, that'll fit the vibe pretty well. So let's go with Again and Again from Missing Pieces to close out today's episode. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll be back with more piecing it together real soon.
An All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.